All right, welcome back to the channel. So, wow, man, this is pretty incredible stuff. Mikey Garcia says that he is willing to move back down to 135 pounds to challenge Devin Haney and George Kambosos at that weight. And he also gives a lot of insight into the reason why he lost his last fight. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to talk about the 135-pound division and a old new player or new old player that is looking to put his hat into the ring at the 135-pound division, and that is Mikey Garcia. If you are not familiar with Mikey Garcia is probably the best 135-pounder that there has been over the last, I would say the last 5 or 6 years. And he said that he is willing to go, if Devin Haney will fight him, he is more than willing to go down there to 135 to fight Devin Haney or fight George Kambosos. His only caveat is he's like, look, man, I need to have a full 12-week training camp for that so that I can get down to the weight. But if they're willing to do the fight, I'm willing to do the fight. We can make the fight. And for me, I think that that is absolutely great news because, well, first of all, now before I get into the rest of this though, make sure you guys hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. Hook me up. Hit the bell icon so that you can get notified of when we release more videos, all of that stuff. So let me remind you guys to do that just in case you haven't done it. But the reason that I think this is really good news is because Mikey Garcia is a legitimate top level lightweight. And he moved up from 135 up to 147 pounds, challenged Errol Spence Jr., right? Fought Jesse Vargas, lost his last fight. I do believe it was Sandor Martin. I don't believe it was Martin Sandor. If I'm mixing his name up, please forgive me. Lost his last fight against, I believe, a Spanish fighter on DAZN, and fighting at about 145 pounds in his last fight. So, you know, clearly he's not on the uptick in his career. But what he talked about when he started talking about fighting, his willingness to fight Devin Haney or George Kambosos, he said, look, man, in my last fight, you know, that's why I need 12 weeks to prepare for this fight. I cannot do what I did before, which was take a fight on 4 weeks notice. I didn't have any training. I didn't have any sparring. It was really, really stupid for me to do. And as a result, I went in there, I lost the fight because I wasn't really in fighting shape. But if I'm able to get into fighting shape and get in that condition, absolutely positively, I would fight Devin Haney. I would fight George Kambosos. And he said that he feels like he would be able to get down to the weight of 135 pounds. And more than likely, I think that he would be able to. And I think it would be a really good thing for either Devin Haney or George Kambosos. Obviously, you know, Mikey Garcia is not going to be, you know, the #1 pick for either one of those guys, or a Gervonta Davis either is not going to be a #1 pick for those guys because of how dangerous he is as a fighter. Mikey Garcia, if he can fight at 135 pounds and he can fight there as well as he was fighting at 135 pounds when he was the WBC champion and the IBF champion at 135 pounds, I'm telling you, that is a fight for a guy like Devin Haney that will make or break Devin Haney, because Mikey Garcia is a far better fighter than anybody else at that weight division that Devin Haney has faced. And I do believe if he had stayed in that weight class and he, you know, was all the way, you know, and it wasn't draining to him or anything like that, which it shouldn't be, because he's a guy that moved up from 126 pounds. I think Mikey Garcia just got a big head and decided, oh, I think I see a weakness in Errol Spence Jr. and tried to move up to, you know, somewhere that's just outside of his league, right? He's just not that big a guy. He's not that tall. He doesn't have the dynamic, you know, the physical dimensions really to beat guys up at 147 pounds. And honestly, you know, I don't necessarily think, you know, he's all that well suited, you know, for even 140 pounds. But at 135 pounds, that man can absolutely crack. His jab, he has an excellent jab. He has an excellent straight right hand. He's a very, very intelligent fighter, and he would make Devin Haney work for that victory. And I think that Devin Haney, I'll slightly favor Devin Haney to win that fight. But I'm telling you, I believe that would absolutely positively be the hardest fight of his career. I think that if Mikey Garcia was there and had fought Teofimo Lopez instead of Lomachenko, I think Mikey Garcia would have beaten Teofimo Lopez as well. Mikey Garcia is a very, very good fighter. He's a very, very dangerous fighter, and I think the only reason he's not a world champion right now is because he got greedy and decided he was going to jump up and, I believe he didn't listen to his father, didn't listen to his brother, and decided to go for the gusto. Those guys probably would have kept him down there at 135 pounds, fighting Lomachenko. If he could have got the Lomachenko fight, if they would have been able to make that fight, or, fighting fighting Teofimo Lopez and those guys. But the problem with him when he was at that weight class with those top-ranked fighters is that Bob Arum was representing them, and more than likely, it would have been difficult to make that fight. But seeing as, he just fought with DAZN, the Devin Haney fight to me is the one that would make the most sense. Now, Devin Haney, people in the comment section will say this, that, Devin Haney is looking for the fight with George Kambosos. I'm going to tell you right now, I do not foresee that happening. I don't see that happening with George Kambosos and Devin Haney because, Lou DiBella, I do not believe is dumb. Devin Haney will beat George Kambosos, and I don't care if they fight in Australia, Los Angeles, they could fight in Costa Rica. It's just not going to matter where George Kambosos fights Devin Haney. Anytime, I believe that their matchmakers will absolutely let them know that and say, nah, let's pass on that. Let's try to get a fight with more than likely, like even a Lomachenko. They probably want the Gervonta Davis fight, but I'm not quite sure whether or not what Gervonta Davis is going to do on that. But the guy in the driver's seat from my vantage point for the fight with George Kambosos is Gervonta Davis. The second most likely option for George Kambosos would be Vasyl Lomachenko, who also said he wants that fight and would be willing to go to, and he's going to be willing to go to Australia to have the fight, because that is where Bob Arum had sent Manny Pacquiao to fight Jeff Horn. So sending Vasyl Lomachenko over there to fight George Kambosos is not much of a stretch at all. That leaves Devin Haney kind of out in the open, I do believe. And if Mikey Garcia said he's willing to go down there, that's the type of fight Devin Haney needs, because that's the type of fight that I do believe, number one, will sell tickets. And I do, number two, believe that it would be probably the best win of his career and really challenge him and make him a better fighter in the ring. I don't really put a lot into that loss that Mikey Garcia had against that guy Sandor Martin, because, not just, well, for one reason, he's saying he had a 4-week training camp and he just wasn't prepared for the fight. When I heard that he had lost to the guy, I was like, man, he probably really just overlooked it. Probably was like, okay, I'll just go out and beat this guy, because Mikey Garcia's got a really, really big head, man. He's literally got a big head, but he's also, really kind of, was very egotistical with what he believes his abilities are. And I thought that came back to bite him. So hopefully we can make the fight, man. They would make that fight. I think it would be good for Mikey. I think it'd be good for Devin. And I think that it is a realistic fight to make, because I think that George Kambosos stuff is out there. I don't think George Kambosos is going to take a Mikey Garcia fight in Australia, because, dude, I'm telling you, if Mikey Garcia can fight at 135, that guy's going to be a danger to anybody at 135 pounds, because he definitely can crack. He's got a great jab. He's a very, very experienced world champion fighter. And honestly, man, it's hard for me to even to pick anybody at 135 pounds over Mikey Garcia. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.